our next speaker is going to talk about search and generative AI. Sid Probstein is the founder and CEO of SWIRL. He is a pioneer in search and NLP and the creator of SWIRL, which specializes in building and delivering enterprise AI solutions that connect with most LLM, with any LLM, with enterprise platforms, applications, and information services. He has worked for Keeb, Fast, is a Python hacker, and an author, and a live music fan. So let's hear from Sid on search and generative AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Oh, man, it is great to be here. It really is. I have been interested in search for a long time. I've been lucky to work at a couple companies that have made some progress in this space. In particular, I think search is the very human way we want to interact with information, but now there's AI, right? And so I've actually been coming here since 2008. This was a tweet from September 23rd. So it was actually called Enterprise Search Summit, I think, at the time. There's another conference with that now. But anyway, I'm amazed how much has changed and how little has changed. That's what I was a little bit struck by. So actually the topic of my talk is 7 lessons, exactly 7, no more, no less, 7 lessons from search and GAI really over the last couple of years, what I've learned. So let's talk a little bit about search first. Search at its best brings back documents that might contain the information you're seeking, right? I like to call that little nugget of knowledge a K. We're going to hear about that before, Ks, right? Not strikes, Ks. If you're a baseball fan, K, right, is strike. It's on you, the user, to read the documents. And we often spend a lot of time refining our searches, right? So just to figure out what the start time for KM World is, it took me a couple different searches, and then I had to go to a web page, and then I had to go see the 9 o'clock on the Monday schedule. Awesome. I knew it was at 9 and I was not late. But what can we take away from this? It's that they have fundamentally very different goals, because GAI's goal is almost an alternative. It's direct access to those little Ks, those pieces of knowledge. And recent studies have shown, and can we all agree, the AI is not reasoning, LLMs are not reasoning, they're not aware or sentient. They have many interesting characteristics for problem solving, but ultimately they're text generators. They're really just huge data structures. You can use it to expand, reduce, summarize, and derive data. That's what it's so good at. So when I ask one of the LLMs that's been publicly trained what time KM World's on, I get the answer. Very cool, much less work, a little bit more background there. Another point somebody made, it's very omni-channel. Right? So that's another cool thing. Search forms are very different from the conversation you have with an LLM. Let's take a step back before we go a little further into at least what I've learned. How does knowledge become information? It's actually a very important question. It gets codified. Experts write down stuff, right? They put those Ks into documents. And the truth is, nobody codifies their entire expertise, right? You codify parts of it in pieces. And many experts do that. And many experts have done that over the last 50 years. And so the web is gradually collecting an awful lot of Ks, some little Ks and some big Ks. And over time, enough of those Ks are going to get out there. Experts are going to write enough documents and put those Ks out there that it will be possible to put them back together effectively, and that's kind of what GAI is doing. Taking all those Ks that are out there in whatever repository there are, putting them into a conversational, knowledgeable system. Knowledgeable. So that leads us to another question. How does GAI emerge from this massive sea of information? Well, I'm not going to get into transformers and attention, but let's be clear, the web is the largest collection of K ever. Little Ks and big Ks. There's a tremendous amount of knowledge, expertise, facts, everything you'd need to solve almost any problem. That's the web. Interestingly enough, our dialogues are also very important. Dialogues are filled with Ks. Why is it that GPT-4 seems so much like a smart person on Reddit, at least to me? Because that's a lot of where the text came from. It's driven by some of those discussions. And, something esoteric or sort of boring is not going to make it, but controversial, powerfully presented, emotional, or fact detail ideas, they cut through. They cut through the chatter. So GAI is essentially not the full picture. It's parts of the picture. And the more you look at it, the more there are gaps. There are lots of gaps in LLMs built from public keys. Last point, how does a non-expert access knowledge? You search. And very often, you are told you need to go talk to an expert, right? Here we are trying to file an insurance claim, and Google says, contact your insurance company. Oh, that really would have that saved me a lot of time. Search supercharges experts. It doesn't help the average uninformed person like me on 5,000 topics, right? It's not going to solve that for me. It's not going to make me an expert on accounting. It might answer some questions. But to an accountant, search is massively powerful, especially if you have an expressive language that allows you to use the structure of the data. So that's a database query, but man, is it an expressive way of searching for an answer. And over the years, we've developed, search vendors in particular, all kinds of cool techniques. Boolean and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, all of them designed to let you drill in and find what you're looking for. And search alone democratizes a ton of small Ks. If K is relatively simple, like the vacation schedule or which brochure mentions low blood pressure, it works great for a non-expert. But again, you can't get the answer to, is this incident covered by my insurance policy? It will almost always say, go find the expert. So that brings me to the third and maybe the most important lesson. GAI democratizes some very big Ks. It's just the beginning, but the best example is code, software. If you're not writing software with an AI help alongside, and I won't use the term co-pilot, you're missing the boat. It's incredibly effective. Those thousands of little Ks about programming, a lot of them are built in now. A lot of times you just have to put a few comments and you'll get the code and you can fix it if it doesn't work 100% correctly. Democratizing the big Ks is what GAI is going to do. It's an expert. It will gradually accumulate enough expertise and get very knowledgeable. But, here's the big but. On their own, they don't know about your business. They might know about the web, but they don't know about your contracts. They don't know about your conversations. They don't know about your relationships, partners, customers, or employees, unless you share it with them. So here's lesson number 4. The winner is search plus GAI. By the way, it's a little bit popular out there if you haven't seen, right? Search GPT. There's some other companies that are actually challenging Google, which has been unchallenged for a really long time, despite inventing almost all of this technology at some level. Search plus GAI allows you to get an answer to a question generated from a document in your own environment. So here you can see commentary answering a question and citations. You should not trust an AI that doesn't produce citations. That's another little lesson, but we'll throw that in there as a 4A. The other thing that's so powerful is, does anybody just have one question and they're done? We know that's not real world. Every question leads to another, each concern leads to another. Every query I do, and every document I look at, and every commentary I read, probably brings me to another question. The conversational power of a GAI or LLM is unmatched in the search world, unmatched. And it allows me to continue that conversation and ask follow-up questions. And especially if it doesn't take me hours to track down these things, the productivity boost is massive. Let me give you an example. Here's a supply chain intelligence company for a big pharma. They have about 5,000 users globally. And they're all really sharp, experts, programmers, data scientists, you name it. But they're overwhelmed with reports and dashboards, and they have a dedicated data science team of 20 people. 20 people. And they have a 2-week SLA. So if you have a question you can't answer, you open a ticket and they come back to you, right? Hopefully in 2 weeks, hopefully with a dashboard or a report. So you can get it again the next month. Very high cost to answer questions. So what happens? Anybody want to guess? They don't ask that many questions. They have very long cycles around decision making. And they did a study. This is their avatar for a relatively new employee who's primarily focused on status reporting. Not innovation, status reporting. And their study showed they actually spend far more time looking for the information than they do analyzing it. And they referred to it internally as a scavenger hunt. I go from tab to tab, system to system, trying to find a clue, an indication that I'm in the right place, and ultimately I often choose to go find an expert. In fact, they have a Microsoft Teams channel where people can ask, where is this data question? Their questions are, for the most part, natural language questions. They're business questions. And by the way, they're not necessarily text-oriented. A lot of them are very structured data, KPIs and metrics. But just finding those things can be hard. So they deployed a search and AI-based solution, SWIRLs, and they're actually able to get direct answers from across Colibra, ThoughtSpot, Snowflake, Teams, SharePoint, an Elastic Index, an OpenSearch Index. They can get actual structured data answers. Here you see visualizations generated from systems like Snowflake. So that's the actual answer, right? It's a data set, but no human would want to read the data set. You get the visualization. This ability to have a conversation across silos, to use the LLM, not just to answer your question, but also to guide you to where really the deeper questions might be answered, it saved, by their own analysis, 7.5 hours per week per employee. That's a day. I would like that day. Happily, I get it. Of course, I choose to use it on other things. The lesson is Search and GAI allows you to connect the power of LLMs with your data without just copying all of it, which is a totally insane idea that many vendors love. Of course they do. Watch that you'll find they often charge by gigabyte, right? That's very logical. So think about those points. And as you're starting to roll out your first systems, here's another one. Privacy really matters. It really does. So this is Lauren Breens. She's an amazing spokesperson for AI, posts these great videos, and one of her best recent videos was, data privacy is non-negotiable. She has talked to dozens, if not hundreds by now, of implementing AI teams inside the large enterprises like Accenture and stuff like that. This is what's actually blocking a lot of the AI adoption. Employees don't want their personal data. They are not sure what will happen to it. Will it get copied? Will it end up in public? What does this training thing mean? Everyone here understands a lot about AI and LLM, but the average person who's about to have it rolled out to them, they're maybe not so sure. So actually worrying about their privacy and messaging that the system is designed to keep the data inside or whatever it is that you present, it's very important. Another lesson, and I'm almost done. Data management still matters. I would say this, every single vendor here also, and I count myself as one, we've all spent a lot of time talking about the importance of data management, right? Prep the data, get it clean. Has anyone here heard of generated GAI augmented retrieval, where you actually use an LLM to enrich not so great documents? Okay, anyway, it's just one of the many trends. Data management still matters, because if your employees can't find the information, how's the AI going to find it? Copy paste? Not a good idea. My last lesson, maybe the most important, and definitely my favorite. Start now. The CEO of Forrester, which is as a firm, traditionally says stuff like, wait until we get through the trough. When the real use cases emerge, only then shall you unlock the budgets. No. Projects need to start now. You have to start learning, bringing in the expertise, and most importantly, executive support. Don't leave it to a skunkworks. Your competitor might not be. GAI's potential makes it very appealing, but it's not like other systems. It can be very, very disruptive. And you have to address privacy. You have to learn fast. The journey of 10,000 miles starts with a single step. We are just a few steps in. I'm very grateful to be here to talk to you about it today. And I would love to talk more in the showcase. Please drop by booth 300. We'd love to show you our take on this. Thank you. Thank you.